Hello, welcome back to Silver Thread Sewing. I'm Diane. This is Friday Sews. So I hope everyone is well, and I hope you're having a good week or have had a good week wherever you are. It's been kind of unseasonably cool here in western North Carolina mountains. It's probably been in the low 70s, upper 60s most of the time during the day, and it's been kind of chilly at night. It's been down in the 50s most every night. So we actually used the electric blanket the first part of the week. It was so chilly. But it's warmed up some since then. It's been rainy some, but I look at rainy days as sewing days, so don't have to worry and feel guilty for not going out and doing something. I first want to thank Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for starting the hashtag Friday Sews. It has just allowed us to find one another and to have this little sewing community here on YouTube, and it's my favorite thing. So I am very grateful to her and to all of you for watching. Appreciated the comments and the the people who have interacted. I've really enjoyed that. So on the sewing front this week, after I finished spring cleaning, I have been in my sewing room. I was so happy when I got that last floor mopped and that last curtain hung back up and everything kind of clean for the moment. It doesn't last long. I live with a man and a beagle, so, every day is a new adventure, trust me, but they will be fine. If they track mud and dirt in, I'll just clean it later. Some of it, they won't mess the curtains up, so I'll enjoy clean curtains anyway while I can. But I have been in the sewing room some, and I finished my shirt, the Simplicity 9546, and I made version A, which is just a little bit longer, probably about 3 inches, probably longer than view B. It does have a front yoke and a back yoke, and version A has kind of the fluttery like sleeves. I used a lightweight cotton shirting fabric for mine. It had a white background, and it looked to me like it had like red and blue paint splatters all over it, but I really liked it. It's a little lightweight, but it'll be really good when it's hot this summer. And I was a little bit concerned because it has a lot of gathering underneath the yoke on the back and the front, but I think it done pretty well. I don't think it's not got too much volume to it. So I really like it a whole lot. I used my little fitting chart that I had talked about, I think last week. I had just written down on a piece of pattern drafting paper. I took my measurements, my vertical measurements, shoulder to high bust, shoulder to full bust, bust to waist, waist to hip, and I marked all those out on a piece of paper. And then I went in and made straight lines out for the circumference, for 1/2 and 1/4 of the circumference, so I could hold a pattern, for instance a bodice, up to that paper where I had my measurements, and I could tell if I needed to lengthen or shorten. And that has, so far, I know it's very, very basic. I did it the way it made sense to me, probably not the correct way of doing it, but it did help. So what I did on this Simplicity pattern, I wound up shortening the yoke piece by 1 inch. So I did that to both the back and the front, and then I went back and added 1/2 inch just at the shoulder of the back to account for my forward shoulder adjustment. And I believe that worked. The shirt hits me pretty good. It's very voluminous through both the waist and the hip. It's meant to be that way, as you can tell from the pattern envelope. But as far as the yoke, the gathers would have come down kind of to the full bust position, and that would have looked, I thought it would look odd on me. So where I shortened it, it all kind of stays up where it's supposed to, and I really had pretty much success. I'm calling it a success. I'm calling it a win. So now whether or not you'll agree, I don't know, but I do like it, and I will wear it, and I will make it again, but not before I get through the rest of my top patterns that I had talked to you about in my little video about the, the blouses and the patterns I wanted to use and the fabrics. I've still got a couple of those that I still want to do first. I am working on the vest to go with this dress to kind of try to stop it from looking quite so nightgown-ish. I rummaged through my patterns, and this pattern is an old McCall's pattern. It's from 1996, and that's probably about the time I bought it and made it. It was probably a new pattern then. It's just a vest, and it calls for buttons up the front, but it was, the envelope shows it with Christmas scenes on it. And I'll show you the back. It has a little tie that goes into the back. And I made this to death. It's a size medium, which according to this is a 12-14. And that calls for a 36 bust, 28 waist, and 38 hip. But I'm not going to put buttons on it, and I'm also planning to shorten it. I don't want it to come much past this bodice. I just kind of want it almost like a, I don't know how you say that, a bolero or a bolero. I don't know how that's supposed to be said. But I kind of want it to just kind of meet in front and be shorter and not have any fastenings other than the little ties in the back. And this is the pattern piece for it. And this is a size medium. And it has the rounded front, and it's rounded up here. I don't know how well you can see that from my arm, but it's rounded on both. So I'm going to have to shorten that by a lot. Probably, I don't know, maybe 4 inches, 4 or 5 inches. I'll have to shorten that to make it hit where I want it to on the dress. But I have some just purple cotton that I'm going to use for that. And I have it on my cutting table, so hopefully I'll be able to show you how that turns out next time. What I'm wearing, several years ago, I had went to a thrift store and I found this little top. And it's just a lightweight little cotton shirt. And I think I gave like $4 for it then. It was so cute. It had the back yoke and the gathers on the back part beneath the yoke. Well, I just loved that shirt. I wore it. I was a little thinner then, I must admit, but I wore it all the time. And I thought, I probably could buy one of those similar to it. So I started looking up the name brand. It was called Miss Look. Never heard of that before. But at the time when I started looking it up on Pinterest, I found identical shirts. And they were like $47 and $45 and $58. And most of them were in linen. So that might be one reason they were so expensive. And this one's more of a cotton or a blend of something. But I just thought, there's like 4 pieces. There's sleeve. There was a 1-piece front, the back yoke, and the bottom half of the back. Now the back part is a few inches longer than the front of that shirt. But I thought, that is so simple. I think even I could remake it from the shirt. So I brought it down and I started drawing out my pattern, and I made this one out of a quilting cotton. Akona cotton, I believe is what brand this was, if I'm not mistaken. I had ordered it. It was expensive. It was about, I think, $14, $15 a yard or something silly. And that's been years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. Anyway, when I ordered it, I couldn't afford much, but I wanted it so bad. I loved the colors. And I got 1 yard. Well, that's not really enough to make a whole lot of anything, but I could get that shirt out of this fabric. And the first thing when I made it, if you can see, it has like leaves on it, and it's called Butterfly Cascade, I believe is what this was called. Anyway, when I got the fabric and made the shirt, the first thing my husband said, well, that looks like pot leaves. I said, well, I didn't know that. How am I supposed to know that? And it's not, it's butterflies. But I have yet to find a butterfly in this. I've yet to find one, and I've looked, but I tell myself there's butterflies in there somewhere. But he thought it was hilarious. He said, well, I think that looks like a pot leaf. So call it whatever you will, but I love this fabric. It's just a quilted cotton, so it does stand away from the body a little bit more than the original top. But I love the fabric. Couldn't get any more of it, and you know, I made this and I've been very happy with it. It's just a little pullover top, so there you go. But it was made from a pattern that I made from an existing top. I had a brilliant idea, and I know you're really gonna believe me, but I have so many of those. So I had seen a few weeks ago somebody had talked about a good way to run the serger tail when after you've serged whatever you're serging, a piece of fabric or garment or whatever. You know, it has the tail of threads, and they said that a great way to run those threads back through the stitching and tie them off was a little hook. Well, I've tried darning needles in the past, and I never can get those things to go back through the way they should. Seem like the darning needles are too big. Maybe I just have too big a needle. But if I use a smaller needle, I can't get the threads to go through the eye of the needle. So it's a conundrum, I tell you, a real conundrum. So I had seen somebody using a hook, and I thought, you know, that looks just like my old latch hook. I used to do latch hook rug. I made a couple rugs back in the day. So I hunted out my latch hooks, and I have no idea if you're going to be able to see these. The top one is smaller than the bottom. Maybe you can see them better. Yeah, I think you can see them better like that. But the top one is a little bit smaller than that bottom one. And I thought, you know, just run that right through those, the chain of stitching, and grab those threads and pull them right back through. Well, both of these were too big for that. Even the smallest one. Maybe I have my serger set. It's not my serger, it's borrowed. But maybe I have it set too narrow on the stitching. But I couldn't get even the smallest one to go through that. So I went in search of a smaller, like a little hook. And I found this teeny tiny little one. It is so tiny. And I can get it through the stitches fine. But now the little hook part, it doesn't take all 4 threads. It's so tiny that they won't all go in this. And I still am not happy about that. I found this is a Dritz, and it's called a knit picker, and I think it's to, like, if you have a yarn that's picked on a shirt or something, you can use this to pull the yarn back through and fix it, but it doesn't work for what I wanted it. I wanted it to work with my serger, and it didn't do so good. It goes through the stitching, but it doesn't take all 4 threads so I can pull them back through and tie them off, or knot them off, or I guess you wouldn't have to if you get them back through far enough, but it's too small. So now I have my 2 latch hooks and my little unpicker, and I still am having to pull apart my serger threads and knot them because I can't figure out how to get them back through the loops. So if you have any ideas on how to do that, I would be tickled to death to hear them. So I don't have a whole lot else to tell you. That's all I've got done this week. Basically, is that shirt that the Simplicity 9546. I finished, and I'm happy with it. And I'm working on that vest and getting that out of here. Hopefully today, as a matter of fact. And I've got some more shirts I want to make, or tops, and so a lot more stuff on my mind and on my on my to-do list, but for now, that's all I've accomplished. But anyway, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to join me, and I hope that whatever you're doing, you have a great weekend. It's Father's Day here in the U.S. on Sunday. It's a day we honor our dads, and I'm so thankful that I still have mine. He's still having a hard time. He's not able to eat very much at all, and usually when he's so weak now that he can't hardly talk till I can understand him, But I got him to laugh a little bit the other day, just teased him and going on with him, and he laughed a little. So I thought, since so many of you have commented about my daddy, have been praying for him and asking about him and wishing him well, I thought you might like to see some pictures of he and my mama when they were young. They lived just a little bit over a mile apart. My mom lived in Tennessee and my daddy in North Carolina, and about a mile apart, and they had never met each other. Well, my dad, when he turned 18, I guess, he went to Detroit and got a job, and my mom had moved up there to live with her sister and her husband to babysit her nephew, my first cousin. So they had mutual friends up there, and that's where they met, was in Detroit. Back in 1952, on New Year's Eve, they got married. So they were married 69 years, just over 2 months before my mom died. They had their 69th wedding anniversary. So I thought that you guys might like to see some pictures of them when they were young. I'm wishing my dad, as well as all the fathers in your lives, a happy Father's Day. And I hope that everyone is well, and I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for everything. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the encouragement. And remember, we'll never be failures as long as we don't give up. So we'll never give up. Have a great weekend. Bye.